Hello everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Mathghamhain Morsels. So, I'm going to be starting another kind of series, somewhat like I did with the chimichurri, where I had a short video and then I had the feast later on. This one's going to be a bit longer. It's not just going to be one short video. It's going to be probably about 4, maybe a couple more, but I'm going to shoot for 4 short videos and then a feast. So, this series is going to be simple is sexy. And in order to prove this, I want to start with some fairly basic things. So right now, I'm going to show you how to make a 3-ingredient beef roast. Because so many people think that they have to do all kinds of fancy things in order to make food taste good, but no, you just need to work with the flavor of what you're cooking. You can add in additional flavors later, you can change it up, bring in new things, but if you don't know how to make a simple beef roast taste amazing, it's going to be difficult to get anything else that you make based off of a beef roast to taste unbelievable. So, I'm starting with a really nice eye-round cut. Has a good fat cap on it, has some fat on the side, and then if I turn this round, I can show you that beautiful, beautiful meat. But this is about a 6-pound, bit less, 5-something pound beef roast. I'm just one person, and while I am a big guy, I'm not 5, almost 6 pounds of beef big. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my lovely, lovely butcher's knife to section up the roast a little bit. And I'm going to cut probably about 1 pound off of it. But I'm not using any real measurement, so I'm just going to eyeball what kind of looks like 1 pound to me. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, but that segment looks good because it looks like I can get a few number cuts out of it still. This is probably a bit over 1 pound. With the rest of this meat, I'll be sectioning that up off camera, because once you see me section it once, it's the same thing, just repeated a couple times. So, I have this lovely bit over 1 pound segment of absolutely beautiful eye round. So, what am I going to do with it? Like I said, simple, sexy. I'm going to do 3 ingredients, and the beef is one of them. The second ingredient is going to be salt. And this came out of the refrigerator not terribly long ago, so it's still rather cool. So I'm going to salt it and let it come to room temperature. That'll make cooking it a bit easier. And then the third ingredient is going to be just that lovely beef tallow that I used in the previous feast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off one of my gloves and get out the salt now. Just grind up some salt, press the salt down, and I'm just going to use one type of salt because if I use more than one, well, I'm kind of cheating on the 3 ingredient part, aren't I? And again, use whatever salt you like the most. I'm using just a pink Himalayan. It's fantastic. I love the flavor. It works as a primary cooking salt. It works as a finishing salt. It works at any point in the cooking. Different salts have different areas that they really shine in. So experiment not only with the different types of salts, but try it at different points in the cooking. So what I've done is I've just fairly heavily salted this. I want it somewhat heavy because that will help with the Maillard reactions, and also, it's a big piece of beef. And I'm only salting the outside. So if I want any chance of that flavor coming through, it needs to be a bit heavy. So, now I'm going to let this come up to room temperature. After it comes up, I'll join you guys in my kitchen, and I'll show you guys how to sear it off, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, welcome back. Of course, you can see my cast iron in my kitchen. It has already been turned on and heated up. So that is on a medium-low heat on my burner. My burner's... that one tends to run a bit hot, so I tend to cook on medium-low a lot. Just let my pan heat up nice and slow. Cast iron does amazing if you heat it up nice and slow. Just let it go in its own time, and then it retains the heat for damn near ever. So, you have the nice salted bit of bottom round, or eye round, sorry. Nice bit of eye round, which I'm throwing into my pan fat side down first. And I'm going to let it cook away fat side down. I'm just keeping a finger on it, or my tongs on it at any given point to make sure that it doesn't tip over and that that fat cap gets a nice bit of color on it. So, I mentioned before that when I'm doing thin cuts, or not really thin cuts, but when I'm doing steaks, I tend to not use meat thermometers, and I just use my fingers, because I learned how to tell the doneness of steak based on how it feels. So there's a number of different ways. You can use your face. A lot of people do a face touch test, where if it's as soft as your cheek, then it's rare. If it's in between your cheek and your jaw, then the closer you get to your jaw, the more well done it is, until right on your chin, that's a well done. But you start at the meat of your cheek and about a quarter of the way between the middle of your cheek and your jaw. That's where you end up in the medium rare. A little bit further, about another quarter of the way, you end up at medium, and then another quarter you end up at medium well. You can also do a hand test. So, if while your hands relax, your steak is as soft as the ball of your thumb right here, then you're dealing with a rare steak. If partially flexed, not all the way, just kind of drawn up towards the fingers a little bit, and it's that, then you end up with a medium rare. Flex it a bit more, you end up with a medium. Flex it more, you end up with a medium rare, or a medium well, and flex it all the way, and you end up with a well done. That's something that you kind of have to experiment with a little bit and get used to it. You get used to the sense of touch. But I also said that when I'm doing larger pieces, which this will count as a larger piece, I tend to use a meat thermometer. I can also do it by eyeball, but meat thermometer just makes it a bit more reliable. So I will be using a meat thermometer, which is just this little guy here. This is a Maverick temperature probe meat thermometer. So I'm able to set this on top of my stovetop with the thermometer in the meat and just let it roast away. And it'll let me know when my meat has reached its desired level of doneness. I don't like it when it's medium or higher. I like my meat medium rare, typically as close to rare as I can get with it still being warm all the way through. I don't get quite that level of control with this, so I'm just going to set it to medium rare. That'll let me know about when it's ready. But this isn't quite going into the meat yet. This will just be set up and ready to go. Again, you want to screw with the meat as little as you possibly can. I have to a little bit because it isn't the most stable shape. So I have to move it from one side to the other in order to lean it up against the side of my cast iron pan. And I just realized that I forgot one of the 3 ingredients. This is currently a 2-ingredient roast. Now this is some of that lovely, lovely beef tallow that I used in chimichurri feast. So throwing in a fair bit of the beef tallow. And I'm going to let that melt in. Get it all around the steak. Give it some more flavor. Like I said, the beef tallow just gives it a real beefy taste. And I'm just searing it off at the moment. So I let it sit with its current surface down in the pan until it starts to smell right. Your house should be filling with this fantastic, rich, deep beef smell, because all it is beef, salt, and now beef tallow. So just keep on smelling the air as it cooks. It'll make you hungry. Unbelievably hungry. But as it goes, you'll be able to tell if you need to. You can check on it. But as you cook beef more and more, you'll just get the ability to tell based on scent alone when it smells right. And hopefully you guys can see the absolutely beautiful color. And I'm going to quickly remove it from the stovetop for a moment and bring it closer to my microphone so that you guys can hear what this sounds like. This cast iron has been on a bit too long, even for the silicone handle that I have on it, to keep it from being too hot. But listen to that lovely, lovely sound of that hot tallow and the nice meat of the eye round, the salt, that coloration, like I said in the chimichurri feast video. You get this coloration from Maillard reactions, which is fat and salt and heat reacting together. You get some caramelization, some additional compounds are formed on the meat as it cooks, just bringing out more flavor, more taste, because these compounds aren't there beforehand. And just, like I said, you don't want to fiddle with it too much. So be a bit patient with it, so that you get a nice depth of color on the piece of meat. I've done this roast, I don't know how many times. This was, of course, the very first roast that I learned how to make, because like anything that you're trying to learn, you want to learn the simplest way first, and then build upon that. And with this, there's nowhere to hide. You don't have a bunch of seasonings in order to hide behind if you don't get the level of doneness just right. You don't have the ability to hide if you singe a section because, well, there's other flavors. No, that singe really comes through. So you need to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's cooking just right. So this one I'm bringing back into the middle a little bit, because that will be the hottest section of my cast iron at the moment. And just get that sear a bit better on the side that I'm currently searing on. After it finishes searing off, I'm going to be tossing it into my oven, which is currently at 400 degrees, and it is a preheated oven. And I'm going to let this roast up for a good bit. Once I finish the searing off, I'll again be doing a bit of time skip. That way you don't just have to watch my stovetop or watch my desk as I wait for it to roast up and just become unbelievably beautiful, delicious. The tallow that I threw in will help keep the meat nice and juicy, as well as those beautiful fat caps that I showed you. The one on the top, which you can currently see in frame. Just that lovely, lovely golden brown coloration on that. The one that ran along the side, also just this lovely golden brown. Those will be amazing. And then after I let it roast away, all those flavors will just build a little bit more. The salt permeates the meat as it roasts, just giving that nice flavor throughout. And like I said, there's absolutely nowhere to hide with this. So once you learn how to get it roasted perfectly with something simple like this, that's when you can really start building on flavors. That's when you are able to figure out, okay, so I can use my chimichurri sauce in this, just like I did with the steak. Or I can do a absolutely fantastic horseradish sauce and mustard sauce, and I can do gravies, and I can do all sorts of delicious, delicious things to add onto this. I can do a blue cheese cream sauce that is just this lovely little bit of funkiness that really just heightens the beefy note of it. I can do a wine reduction sauce. I can do all kinds of different things. And I'll just build up the flavor. You really learn what the beef is supposed to taste like. And like I said, I've done this recipe many, many, many times for friends and family and just for myself. Most of the time when I do this, I end up with at least, or most of the time that I do this for people other than myself, I don't ask myself questions, which it would be a bit weird if I did. At least this question in particular. How did you make this? And like I said, simple. Salt, good cooking fat, beef. And it just builds this amazing depth of flavor that people aren't used to. Because most people, when they're cooking, they add in a bunch of other things. So you don't really get a nice clean beef flavor. You end up getting the garlics, and you end up getting the 5 different peppers that they added into their dish in order to build it up, and it just masks the flavor. I want to taste the beef, and every time that I'm making beef, I want to taste it. And I want to taste it with something building on it. So most of the beef preparations that you see me do will start with these very simple steps, with the exception of later on when I show you my sous vide. My sous vide will have marination, and then go through the sous vide process, and then go through the sear-off process. But if I'm not marinating the meat to begin with, and I'm not sous videing the meat, it just starts with this. Just this simple salt, meat, fat. I wish you guys could smell what I'm smelling because, oh god, it's good. But there's an answer to that. Do this recipe yourself, and then you can smell exactly what I'm smelling. So let's check to see. That's some decent coloration, a little bit longer. And for those of you who watch this video, one of the other videos that I'm going to do in this series, the Simple is Sexy, is a baked potato that'll be coming out probably the day after this one comes out, if I don't get a bit impatient and just put it out half a day later. Then I'm going to be doing probably some asparagus, just done really simply. Another side of some sort. I'm trying to decide what that will be. And then I'm going to be doing the feast. So I'll be doing, again, everything very simply done during the feast, but it'll be different. So I won't be using potato as my starch. I'll be using something else. It might be a sweet potato. It might be ube if I'm able to find some lovely ube. It might be some pasta. But it'll be something done very simply. I won't use beef. I'll probably use pork or something like that. Maybe some chicken. And each of the sides will be changed. That way, it's not just you watching me go, well, I made this beef, I made this potato, I made this side and this side, so I'm just going to throw them all on the same plate, and boom, there's the meal. No, it'll be something different.
Contact not found. Perhaps check the name and try asking again.
My phone just became possessed. So, let's check on this beef again. There we go, that's some nice coloration. Nice and juicy. Set it on the last surface that needs to be seared off, that bottom bit. I'm just going to let it sit there for a bit. This side I won't sear off entirely before throwing it into the oven, but I'll give it some time to get done, and I'm going to use my meat thermometer, as I said earlier. So it's kind of at an angle going that way into the meat. So it gets towards the center. It's currently still about room temperature in the center. A bit hotter than room temperature, but not by much. I've literally just been searing the surface. Haven't really permeated the meat and started cooking the inside yet. So at this point, I'm going to rejoin you guys later on after I pull this out of the oven. But right now, it's just going to be popped into the oven. Let it roast for a while, and I'll let you guys know about how long that is when it comes out. So see you guys in a few moments, but it'll seem like no time at all for you. And welcome back, everyone. As I said, I would pop this back up once the meat finished roasting up. So this was about let's see, I want to quickly check how long it was exactly. Advantage of having the video that I recorded for the previous one. So about 33 minutes ago. So it was in for probably about 25 to 28 minutes, and then had 5 to 8 minutes rest time. And you always want to rest your meat for a while. That way it stays nice and juicy, and when you cut it, it doesn't just have all the juices run out. Allows time for them to get reincorporated back in. As you can see, beautiful shine on the meat. beautifully seared off. At least should be able to see that that is beautifully seared off. None of it is blackened, just a real nice, deep brown, absolutely beautiful looking. And here's the fat cap that I was talking about earlier. So, let me stop teasing you guys and cut into it. Let's start with this cut. Whenever you're dealing with meat that can get a bit tough, like an eye round roast can be a bit tough, absolutely beautiful blush to the center of this meat. You always want to make sure that the last cut that you make is against the grain. So you can see the grains running from top to bottom. I'm going to come at it at a diagonal here. And that's delicious. Got a little bit more well done than I was hoping to. Not sure if you can tell how it is in the light. My light is a bit yellow, which causes the very nice pink color that I wish was a little bit of a deeper red to show up more brown in the light. But trust me, it is an absolutely beautiful. It's probably more around a medium rare rather than a rare medium rare. So medium rare plus. But is absolutely delicious. Nice and tender. None of that meat-based floss that you sometimes get with a tough piece. It was cooked at the right pace. And you just get that real strong beef flavor like I was telling you guys about. Let me just get a little bit of that fat cap because that fat cap is going to be amazing. Nice bit of crunch when I first bit into it, followed by just that like beef butter texture of the beautifully cooked fat. And with that, that's my simple, sexy beef roast. So again, I leave off with a request, command, however you want to look at it, of explore food and find out the flavors that you like. Have a good one all. Bye.